in the rugged Vitsi Mountains of northwestern Greece. During the sweltering heat of August 1949, one of the final and most decisive battles of the Greek Civil War unfolded. This was the Battle of Vitsi, a brutal confrontation that would precipitate the collapse of the communist-led Greek Democratic Army, known as the DSE, and solidify the victory of the Greek National Government Army, or GNA. To comprehend the full gravity of this event, we must analyze the detailed course of the battle, from its meticulous preparation to its ferocious fighting phases. Only by doing so can we clarify why this single engagement holds such profound historical significance, a meaning that extends far beyond the simple outcome on the battlefield. By the summer of 1949, the Greek Civil War had raged for more than 3 years, tearing the nation apart. The DSE, once a formidable guerrilla force, had seen its strength critically depleted. Under the command of Ioannis Ioannidis, its fighting force had dwindled to approximately 10,000 to 15,000 fighters, concentrated in 2 major mountain strongholds, Gramos and Vitsi. The preceding years had been marked by a series of devastating losses inflicted by large-scale government campaigns. The critical turning point had come in 1948 with the Tito-Stalin split, which resulted in neighboring Yugoslavia closing its border and severing a vital logistical artery for the DSE. In stark contrast, the Greek national government, bolstered by vast quantities of American military and economic aid under the Marshall Plan and the Truman Doctrine, had methodically built a professional army. This force numbered over 150,000 men equipped with modern artillery, armor, and a powerful air force, creating a colossal disparity in material strength. The Vitsi mountain range, situated a mere 20 to 30 kilometers from the Albanian border, became the crucible for this final act. Its topography, characterized by densely forested slopes, soaring peaks like Kisavos and narrow, treacherous valleys, offered a natural fortress for defenders. However, this same terrain that was so favorable for a defensive stand also made retreat a perilous undertaking if encirclement was achieved. Vitsi was the DSE's second most important base, a sanctuary housing weapons depots, field hospitals, and several of its most elite combat units. It was here that the government resolved to deliver a decisive blow. The GNA's plan, codenamed Operation Torch, was an ambitious 2-pronged offensive designed to systematically annihilate the DSE forces in both Vitsi and Gramos during the summer of 1949. The opening phase of this operation, the assault on Vitsi, commenced on August 10th and would conclude with the range's capture by August 28th. The initial preparations for Operation Torch revealed the overwhelming scale of the government's military machine. An immense force of approximately 50,000 to 70,000 troops was mobilized and deployed for the Vitsi offensive. This army was a combined arms formation, comprising infantry divisions, specialized mountain commando units, light armored brigades, and a dominant air component. Advancing from the south and east, the GNA initiated the battle with a thunderous and sustained artillery bombardment, systematically pounding suspected DSE positions around the clock. High above, the Greek Air Force asserted its supremacy. Squadrons of Spitfire and Dakota aircraft executed hundreds of sorties, conducting reconnaissance, unleashing bombing raids, and providing direct, devastating fire support to the ground troops. The strategic objective was clear and unequivocal: to encircle the DSE forces from multiple directions, severing their escape route to Albania and trapping them in a fatal pocket. Facing this onslaught, the DSE's contingent at Vitsi, numbering between 8,000 and 10,000 fighters, braced for the inevitable. They had prepared for a desperate defense, leveraging their intimate knowledge of the terrain. A complex network of fortifications had been constructed, including heavily reinforced defensive positions, concealed underground bunkers, and extensive minefields and booby traps designed to slow the government's advance. The DSE fighters employed their well-honed guerrilla tactics, engaging the advancing GNA with precision sniping from hidden perches, launching localized, sharp counterattacks to disrupt enemy formations, and using the unforgiving landscape to bleed the larger force for every inch of ground. Their strategy was one of attrition and endurance, hoping to hold their ground and inflict unsustainable casualties on the attackers. From the middle of August, the main fighting phase began in earnest. The GNA's infantry divisions began their slow, arduous ascent into the mountainous terrain, where they were met with ferocious and unyielding resistance at every turn. The battle devolved into a series of brutal, close-quarters engagements for control of strategic high points. The fighting for peaks like Kisivos was particularly savage, as infantry from both sides engaged in desperate hand-to-hand combat amidst the rocks and trees. Throughout this grim struggle, the government's air power proved to be a decisive factor. Aerial bombardments relentlessly targeted DSE ammunition depots and supply lines, disrupting their logistics and shattering morale. Napalm, a terrifying new weapon, was used to incinerate fortified positions in forest cover, leaving defenders exposed and vulnerable. Despite the overwhelming firepower arrayed against them, the DSE organized daring counterattacks under the cover of darkness, inflicting significant losses on the advancing GNA units. However, these localized successes could not alter the strategic reality. The slow, grinding encirclement continued unabated. By August 20th, the GNA had successfully captured a number of key heights, effectively isolating DSE units from one another and tightening the noose. By the 22nd of August, the situation for the defenders had become untenable. The DSE leadership, facing the imminent risk of complete annihilation, made the difficult decision to order an urgent and full-scale retreat. What followed was a desperate exodus. From August 24th to August 28th, the bulk of the surviving DSE forces conducted a fighting withdrawal, scrambling across the border into the sanctuary of Albania. They managed to carry some of their weapons and evacuate a portion of their wounded, but the retreat was a chaotic and costly affair. Several small units cut off from the main body were overrun, captured, or killed as they attempted to escape the closing trap. By the end of August, the Greek National Army was in complete control of the Vitsi range. While they had failed to achieve their goal of completely destroying the enemy force, they had shattered its coherence and seized its vital stronghold. The human cost of the battle was severe. The GNA suffered approximately 1,500 to 2,000 casualties, a testament to the intensity of the DSE's resistance. The DSE, in turn, lost several thousand fighters who were killed, wounded, or captured, a catastrophic blow to its already diminished ranks. A tactical analysis of the Battle of Vitsi reveals a classic confrontation between a large-scale conventional offensive and a determined guerrilla defense. The government forces masterfully utilized their immense superiority in numbers, firepower, and air power to methodically overwhelm their opponents. In contrast, the DSE skillfully used the terrain to mount a tenacious defense. But their inability to counter the GNA's air supremacy and withstand the relentless pressure of encirclement ultimately sealed their fate. The battle demonstrated with stark clarity that in a prolonged conflict, even the most resilient guerrilla force cannot indefinitely hold fixed positions against a modern, well-equipped conventional army. The importance of the Battle of Vitsi, however, transcends the military outcome of the government's capture of territory. Militarily, the defeat at Vitsi, followed shortly by the fall of Grammos, marked the complete and irreversible collapse of the DSE as an organized fighting force. Deprived of its last major bases within Greece, the DSE was no longer capable of sustaining large-scale military operations. Its remnants were forced into exile in Eastern European countries, and the armed struggle was effectively over. The victory at Vitsi affirmed the authority of the Greek government and consolidated the power of the royalist and nationalist factions that had prosecuted the war. The Greek Civil War officially concluded in October 1949 when the DSE leadership, from their exile, declared a ceasefire. Yet, this official end did not heal the deep wounds inflicted upon the nation. The conflict left a bitter legacy of social and political division that would poison Greek society for decades, with tens of thousands dead, hundreds of thousands displaced as refugees, and countless families torn apart by ideology and violence. On the international stage, the outcome of the Battle of Vitsi carried profound implications. It was hailed in the West as one of the first decisive victories of the nascent Cold War. The successful application of American military and economic aid in preventing a communist takeover in Greece established a blueprint for future foreign policy. The Truman Doctrine, which pledged support to free peoples resisting subjugation, was validated, setting a precedent for American interventions in conflicts across the globe. From the Korean Peninsula to Southeast Asia, The battle demonstrated that direct Western support could tip the balance in a regional proxy war, a lesson that would shape international relations for the next half-century. The Battle of Vitsi thus stands as a critical historical event, a brutal military climax that not only ended a devastating civil war, but also signaled a new and dangerous era of global ideological confrontation. The echoes of its gunfire resonated far beyond the Greek mountains, helping to draw the battle lines of the Cold War.